Hi everyone. Okay, in this video I want to talk about something quite specific, and it's the relationship between a cinematographer and a director, and specifically some movies that came towards the end of the 60s that ended up having quite a serendipitous nature to them because of the shuffling around of crew. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. So let's start off with this film, Far From the Madding Crowd. Now, recently we lost the actor Terence Stamp. I did do a video tribute to him recently, but yeah, Far From the Madding Crowd was an acclaimed film of his that I had in my collection that I hadn't watched, so I was desperate to actually get around to watching it. And this absolutely is a wonderful classic movie, adapted from a Thomas Hardy novel, directed by John Schlesinger in 1967, and starring Julie Christie. And Julie Christie plays in this Bathsheba Everdeen, who is a very independent woman who inherits a sheep farm on the Dorset coast, and she has to run that, but she is also fending off various suitors who are trying to be the object of her affection. And there is a sheep farmer who is played by Alan Bates. There is a wealthy bachelor who is played by Peter Finch. And there's also a reckless and rugged swordsman officer who is played by Terence Stamp. Yeah, this is a terrific movie, very epic in scope. It's nearly 3 hours, lots of widescreen footage of great Dorset coastal locations, all this rugged coastline. This looks absolutely tremendous, shot in fairly low light, but yeah, this is a tremendous film. Now, the cinematographer on this film is none other than Nicolas Roeg, who went on to start his own directing career in 1970 with Performance, and then Walkabout, and Don't Look Now. What an amazing first 3 movies for him to direct. But yes, watching Far From the Madding Crowd, it really brought to mind for me the director David Lean, because, like I say, this is quite an epic film, and there's some parallels between the film that David Lean directed in 1970, which was this one, Ryan's Daughter. Both of these films feature rugged coastlines, both feature an army officer, and both have significant sequences that involve a heavy windstorm. So, like I say, watching Far From the Madding Crowd, it did really make me kind of wonder, well, was David Lean influenced by this in terms of making Ryan's Daughter? And so I went to my David Lean biography and just tried to look a few things up here and made a kind of interesting link. So David Lean, obviously famous for directing that epic Lawrence of Arabia, and then also in 1965 he was going into production on this movie, Dr. Zhivago, which also stars the beautiful Julie Christie. And interestingly enough, when this film went into production, David Lean could not get his cinematographer Freddie Young from the Lawrence of Arabia film, because Freddie Young was scheduled to work on this film, which was Khartoum, which was directed by Basil Dearden and was an epic film itself, telling of the Sudanese War in the 1880s, and Charlton Heston here playing General Gordon. But yeah, what's interesting is, like I say, Freddie Young was not available when this film went into production, and so it was Nicolas Roeg who actually started filming on Dr. Zhivago. So Nicolas Roeg had done some second unit work on Lawrence of Arabia, and so because Freddie Young wasn't available, David Lean was going to give him a go, except they had very different personalities, and very early on they got into a disagreement about how to light a particular set. Nicolas Roeg had done some research and had felt that there should be some very low lighting, but David Lean was like saying, well, I want to be able to see the set. And Nicolas Roeg retorted, oh, so you want it Hollywood, do you? And David Lean did not like that, and so pretty quickly, Nicolas Roeg was out the door, and David Lean was in fact able to get Freddie Young away from doing Khartoum and to be his cinematographer once again on Dr. Zhivago, a film that lights Julie Christie absolutely beautifully and has incredible cinematography and lighting. And so with no Freddie Young available to work on Khartoum, well, who did Basil Dearden use? Well, interestingly, he ended up working with a cinematographer that he had worked with before, and that was Edward Scaife, who worked on one of my very favourite Basil Dearden movies, which was All Night Long, starring Patrick McGoohan. Edward Scaife had also done cinematography on my favourite Tarzan movie, directed by John Gilliman, Tarzan's Greatest Adventure, as well as Tarzan the Magnificent and Tarzan's Three Challenges. So I do find all of this quite serendipitous, and I do think that David Lean was probably influenced by Far From the Madding Crowd when he did come to do Ryan's Daughter, because as much as he liked to say that he thought that Nicolas Roeg and himself had very different ideas about cinematography, well, Nicolas Roeg got this opportunity to do something quite epic. This was the most epic film that he worked on as a cinematographer, and he did get to use the lighting choices that he wanted. And like I say, I really feel as though David Lean must have been persuaded by this film to change how he altered the look of Ryan's Daughter when he came to do that movie. And then on top of that, I just think it's quite interesting to then see how things played out for the cinematographers on their next films. So Edward Scaife, who worked on Khartoum, he then got the opportunity to work on another pretty significant action-adventure movie, and that was this one, The Dirty Dozen. Whereas Nicolas Roeg in 1967, well, he didn't do anything more epic as a cinematographer, but he did work second unit on Casino Royale. Whilst Freddie Young, David Lean's cinematographer, well, his next movie was another Bond movie, and that was this one, You Only Live Twice. So like I say, I just find that fascinating in terms of how that all played out. So I'm sure John Schlesinger would have had confidence in using Nicolas Roeg because he had that second unit experience on working on big epics such as Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago, and then would also have been comfortable with his lighting choices as well. And then, like I say, I do think David Lean probably got influenced by that. And then go back to Basil Dearden, well, he gets to work with his regular cinematographer, Edward Scaife. So yeah, there's a lot of balance there, and I just think that's really interesting. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense. Let me know your thoughts and comments. Thanks very much for watching this video. Hope to see you again. All the best. Bye-bye.